deal. He quoted a Chinese proverb, "The person who tied the bell must untie it." Nice. Do you think Trump's going to untie the bell? And what do you make of all the back and forth? I think Trump was asked again right before we were recording about the Chinese official who made those comments, and he was like, well, there was a meeting this morning, and maybe I'll reveal who it was at some point, but there's a meeting, so I think it's fake news. The story about the fake news is the fake news.
Got it. I have some questions about the Chinese proverb.
Yeah. How do you tie a bell?
Yeah. Well, you can't, I thought it was going to be the person who rings the bell, so unring the bell, but you can't unring a bell, which is the whole point of the original saying.
Right. So. I think they got to work on that. I think we should jack up the tariffs a little more just for that.
It's also possible things have gotten lost in translation here.
That's true.
I mean, this is insanity, but it's also should be completely expected. Like, this is what happens when you put in the White House a erratic older man who hasn't had a new idea since Cheers was on the air. And then he surrounds himself with a bunch of yahoos who view their only job is to make the Mad King happy.
Yeah.
And so you end up with this pure chaos. And it is like, there is no coherent policy. There is no coherent ideology behind the policy. There is no consistency between on a minute-to-minute basis. Like, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, East Coast time. By the time people listen to this on Friday morning, it's very possible and perhaps probable that there will be an entirely new position on tariffs with China by the time you listen to this.
It's a good bet. I mean, there's always been this axiom that the only real constraint on Trump is that he won't do anything that tanks the markets. But from Liberation Day onward, at least, that hasn't been true. What do we know, if anything, about why he may ultimately back down?
He is responding to the markets, right? And he has been since the beginning here. When he put the first tariffs on Canada and Mexico, market tanked, he took them off. Then he put new tariffs on Canada and Mexico, market tanked. They announced a bunch of exceptions that basically made them hollow shells himself. Then he puts a global tariff, then he does the reciprocal tariffs on everyone, market tanks, takes those off, moves it down to 10%, but keeps them on China, market tanks, takes them off, or at least talks about taking them off to make the market go up. Talks about firing Jerome Powell, market tanks, says he's not going to fire Jerome Powell, market gains again. And so he is responding to it. The problem is he does not, I mean, it's going to shock you, but he doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get that every time he tanks the market and then changes his position, he's making the next time he changes his position less helpful. Like, the stock market will come back. The stock market always comes back. But every time he's inserting more uncertainty into the economy, which is going to depress everything, right? We got reports this morning that new home sales are at their lowest level since 2022, coming right out of the pandemic. And this is all happening because no one, not a major corporation, not a small business, not a family, can make any decisions. So they have no idea what's happening. Are things things that we all need about to be exponentially more expensive in a few weeks or not? We don't know. Are we going to be in a recession or not? We don't know. Is Jerome Powell going to be in charge of monetary policy, or will it be someone from Fox Business? We don't know. And because of that, it is doing real damage to the economy that cannot simply be undone by another truth contradicting what Caroline Leavitt said earlier that day.
Yeah, the first reaction from the White House when this started was like, oh, who cares about the markets? And that's just Wall Street, and we're focused on Main Street. And what they missed about that, aside from the fact that, most Americans have at least some money in the stock market, most of their retirement, that the market is just responding to how they believe the economy is going to fare. And the economic damage is already begun, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, even if the trade war stops tomorrow, by the way. Some of this is priced in because but I do think that he met with this week the CEOs of Target and Walmart and Home Depot, and they reportedly told him that we are a couple weeks away from empty shelves. Not just higher prices, they said that too, but empty shelves because there'll be such a supply chain issue, which is what we dealt with during the pandemic for reasons that weren't just some idiot's trade war. And IMF, they had originally predicted the inflation rate in the U.S. was supposed to be 1.9% this year. They've upped that prediction to 3%. There are truck plants in Maryland and Pennsylvania already laying off hundreds of workers because orders aren't coming in due to a lack of certainty. Manufacturers are already reducing headcount. Remember this whole thing? One of the rationales, one of the many, is that we're bringing manufacturing back to the United States. but it's actually making things more expensive, and manufacturing is going to leave the United States or at least lay off workers here.
Yes, because they get the parts from other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's affecting small businesses. Like there is a small business that my wife uses to buy name tags for small name tags for like kids' clothes and lunchbox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They went out of business because of the tariffs. They sent an email out to everyone saying that they couldn't afford it because of the tariffs. Because I assume they get the products from China.
The other challenge I don't think they've really thought through is is, doing a full trade war with the Chinese government. They've been authoritarian government for a long time, and so they can basically force their people to accept much more pain than maybe Americans are willing to accept. And so they can. I don't know that China's going to be. I mean, from that wonderful proverb we heard, I don't know that China's going to be backing down anytime soon because Trump looks like an idiot. It's causing Trump political pain, and I think they can. Like, obviously, China doesn't want to be in this trade war, but I think that they can probably last longer than Trump thinks they can.
Of course, they absolutely can. There's no political pressure. Like, she's not worrying about the YouGov daily tracking poll and like how it's going to impact the generic ballot. Like, that's not a concern of his, so he doesn't have that problem. But there's a world where a normal, competent president with a coherent economic and foreign policy would be marshaling the world to unite against China in this trade war. You would be working with the EU, but also other Asian countries. But instead, Trump has pissed off the entire world, and now these countries are going to be in a position where they're going to be incentivized to cut specific deals with China.
Well, and already there's reports that Japan is saying they don't want to be part of any deal that screws over China because that's a market for them. China has reached out to the EU and has said, let's form an alliance against the United States.
Just as we put it on the whiteboard.
Unfucking real.
Yeah.
And again, this is like he could climb down from this whole thing tomorrow and pretend it's a big victory and say they're talking about now they're weeks and weeks and maybe months away from actual deals, but maybe there's a memorandum of understanding they can have with India about the contours of a deal. So they're gonna they could take something and say, oh, big victory, Trump wins. Already economic damage, and I think it's gonna be very hard to put this back in the box, even if he stops tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of new polling now on how Americans are looking at all this. I think you guys talked about that this week on Polar Coaster.
Yep. I spoke with Molly Murphy, who is one of the smartest Democratic pollsters. She polled for the Harris campaign, but also for Alyssa Slotkin, Josh Stein, and a whole bunch of other candidates. And we talked about the state of politics, public opinion, but also specifically about the polling. We have a clip.
We just did a poll. We do polling with the Wall Street Journal, and we looked at the tariff policies. We looked at how people think it will affect the economy and their costs. And a majority of Americans oppose the tariffs. 75% think it will cause their own costs to go up. And as you said, they voted for him to bring costs down. The nuance here with Trump is that when he messages this, he messages short-term gain. It's odd that he gets away in some ways with being honest with people by saying short-term pain, long-term gain. We've got some big problems. And so there's about a third of Americans who are sitting in this, maybe we're going to take on some short-term pain. If we see things get better, it will be worth it. But I think we all know that this isn't going to result in lower costs for people. It is not going to turn out that way. And those will be the fissures. And that's really the imperative for Democrats to really take on and not let him get away with the messaging that he's currently putting out there.
Let me expound upon what Molly said there, which is they had three groups of voters. Mm-hmm. There's a groups who are all pain, right? And that's mostly Democrats, people who don't like Trump. There is a group of people who are no pain. It's not going to hurt us short term. It's not going to hurt us long term, right?
Enjoy.
It's great. Tariffs are great. And that's Trump's base. And the middle is some pain, but some long-term gain. A lot of these folks are independents. Some of them are soft Republicans, but that's the group that Democrats are going to have to focus on when the medium and long-term gain does not happen.
Yeah, short-term pain, long-term decline, long-term global economic collapse. And look, I think that people may say, let's give them some time, weeks, months. It's understandable. We're almost 100 days in if you're a Trump fan, right? But I don't think people have the patience that they even tell pollsters they have, because none of us have patience
Yeah.
anymore, most because of our screens and media and the way the world's work. So I don't think in like a couple of weeks, if the shelves are empty at fucking Target, people are going to be like, well, it's short-term pain. I know something better is right around the corner.
Well, people are against the tariffs, and they're suffering almost no consequences of them yet.
Right. A lot of this is just
if
from
you run
them-
a business,
Yeah.
you're dealing with this, but like as a consumer, you're not yet paying higher prices in most cases.